Hello, my name is Jeremy, and if you come across any Trekkies out there, don't hesitate to tell them about this podcast. Believe me, you'll be doing them a favor. Welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Star Trek podcast. Joining me tonight, a wise man once said, "Don't try to be a great podcaster, just make a podcast, and let the iHeartRadio algorithm sort it out." That man was Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
Hello, I am fully functional in multiple techniques. Wait, what did you ask?
Absolutely not that. But good to know. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you, Jordan.
It's been 8 years.
To my left, is she a friend of mine? Yes. Wife? Yes. Good. It's my wife, Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea.
Hey.
And if you want my professional opinion as podcast host, she's nuts. It's Leta. Hello, Leta.
Oh, hello. I'm ready to blast off, but I'm not going to be sober.
Fair enough. You strike a hard bargain. Next up, I promised I would never use this. Computer, activate emergency medical podcaster. It's Joselyn. Hello, Joselyn.
Hello. What seems to be the nature of your podcast emergency?
We're just trying to get in front of it before it goes downhill, so just stick around.
I'll be here.
Okay, kind of a preemptive strike. And finally, as always, bringing an unstable element to a critical situation. It's my teenage son, Connor. Hello, Connor.
No!
The movie we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council have left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate the movies and new Trek episodes yourself, and can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're all on there, very active, and love talking Trek with you. The council also does a movie follow-up roundtable podcast hosted by senior council member James King. Those release a couple weeks after ours premieres. So if you're interested in participating in any of those future movie roundtables, contact us through that Facebook page. Now, in the meantime, we are reviewing the 8th Star Trek film, so let's get started. Computer, run synopsis.
Of what? You'll kill me? Like you killed Ensign Lynch?
There was no way to save him.
You didn't even try. Where was your evolved sensibility then?
I don't have time for this.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
What?
You do have books in the 24th century.
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about saving the future of humanity.
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No!
Star Trek First Contact, released on November 22nd, 1996. Screenplay by Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga. Directed by Jonathan Frakes. 6 years have passed since Captain Jean-Luc Picard was captured and assimilated by the Borg. Now the Borg make a second attempt to conquer the Federation. Starfleet believes that Picard's experience makes him an unstable element to a critical situation and orders him to stay behind. But when Starfleet's fight does not go well, Picard and the crew of the new USS Enterprise disobey orders to join the fight, following the Borg 300 years into the past, just as Zephram Cochrane prepares to launch humanity's first warp-capable engine, the Phoenix, and make first contact with an alien race.
All right, thank you for that synopsis, Barbara Whipple. Much appreciated. Let's go ahead and go around the table and give some brief summaries on thoughts. Chelsea, we'll start with you. What is your initial reaction to First Contact?
I thought this was pretty solid. Everything from like the music to the special effects and just the general storyline felt a little bit different than any of the Trek movies we've seen so far. This is my second time watching this, and I remember it being entertaining the first time, but I'm definitely happy to report that I like really enjoyed it this time around.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
I think having just a general knowledge of what the hell Star Trek is probably helps.
Fair. Very fair. Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. Leta, initial reactions?
Yeah, I've always loved this movie, but it's been many years since I've watched it, so I was kind of nervous to pick it apart after we just reviewed the whole show. But honestly, I was actually surprised on how polished it was, how well it held up, and the individual character moments that were more special now that I've really gone into every show, I guess. So, liked it.
Very good. Thank you, Leta. Connor, let's jet over to you. What are your initial reactions on First Contact?
I loved this movie. I knew what this movie was about, but I haven't seen it before. And I loved it. I really liked the darker tone, and I think this was a story that needed to be told, unlike the previous outing for the Next Gen crew and the other outings for the Next Gen crew.
Oh boy, spoiler alert. All right, thank you, Connor. Jocelyn, initial reactions.
Yeah, this one is it. This is the one they get it right. Everything's just right, and it felt good watching it, and the music was back, and like everything. I love this one.
Very exciting. Jordan, how about you? Do you love this one?
Well, I actually do, yes. This was the first Star Trek film that I saw in the theater. So I would have been 10 years old. I saw it with my best friend at the time, who also liked Star Trek, and I think our two dads, who also liked Star Trek. So it was a good experience for me. This is just like the epitome of a blockbuster Star Trek film that you'd want to see in the theater. If Generations had been my first film, I may not be doing this podcast. But no, I love First Contact. It is by far the best of the TNG films, and just a wonderful film altogether. And it looks so much better than Generations. It looks like a full feature film. So what about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, this was also the first Star Trek film I saw in the theaters, and I saw Generations in the theater. Yeah.
Smooth.
My love for this film is so great. After 25 years, I don't know what percentage of that is full-on sentimentality and what is actually like being a genuinely great film. So much like the Borg with organic and synthetic, this film uses both to attain perfection. So I don't know where it all comes from, but this is just the perfect movie for me. I love it so much. So many emotions around it every time I watch it. Let's get into our top pros. Chelsea, why don't you start us off?
Okay.
Top pros.
I feel like Jocelyn's going to agree with me here, but Lily gives me life. Like, she is phenomenal. Yes. The dynamic between her and Picard, she's not scared to just like stand up and call him out when he's being like an absolute asshat. And I mean, I understand why his crew can't, right? Like
protocol.
Yeah, he can't do that.
Command, yeah.
I mean, you can, but it's not wise. She saved a ton of lives just by like stomping into his office and being like, "Look here, you dumb bitch." And I thought that was really cool, like, because no matter how much he tried to like rationalize his reasons for not blowing up the ship, like he really was just making decisions and endangering his crew because of some like vendetta. So, I mean, every scene with her was just freaking awesome. Like she's amazing. The opening credits and the music were almost hypnotic to me. Like just visually, the way the credits would kind of like, I don't know, that was
come into focus.
Yeah, I was like watching it and I was like, whoa, I'm like going into a trance. This is crazy. It really set the mood for the rest of the movie, and I don't think I've ever disliked a Star Trek soundtrack in like any of the films, but I've also never really like paid much attention to them. But that was one of the things that really stuck out to me was like that music. Like, oh my God, that music. And I also noticed that I was paying more attention to that throughout the entirety of the film, and it wasn't just like background noise,
Yeah.
which like isn't bad when it's just background noise, but it was kind of cool to actually be aware that my attention was being kind of drawn to something other than like what was happening on the screen. So I don't know if that makes sense, but those are my top 3 pros.
Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. Leta, top 3.
Cool. Yeah, Chelsea, I do agree. The music was amazing. My 1-year-old is obsessed with music right now, and I was watching it with him, and the whole time he was like swaying with the music.
Oh.
It made me cry.
That's the best.
Anyways, again, Lily, yes, the best female character guest I have ever, that I could ever remember. Just starting off with disregarding Beverly's instructions and just being like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. But nobody can yell at Picard and actually have him shaking in his boots. I loved the push and pull between them, and they got it just right on the mark. Like, she was yelling at him, and I was like a little scared too. I was like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. I love you. Also, Worf and Picard getting into it. Loved the tension. There were some really good fights in this movie. And I loved Picard's apology. It was so good to see the difference between Worf now that he is a badass, confident crew member on DS9. They really developed that character well and let him be who he is on DS9 in this movie, and I appreciated that. Michael Dorn and Brent Spiner really pulled up with their A games in this movie, like, absolutely. And also, there's no grander entrance than to come into a room spinal cord first. So,
as I
Borg
want to
Queen will
do,
always be one of my
Spinal
favorites.
cord first.
Such a boss
I'm
move.
not
Such a
gonna
gross
lie, I would
picture painted by your
love-
words.
I would love to see the Borg Queen and Data have kind of like a really messy, toxic relationship for about half a season of a show. But I guess we can't have that. But no, those are my top 3s.
Very good. Thank you, Leta. Connor, top pros.
before I get into that, I would also like to add to that, I would love a sitcom about the Borg Queen and Data married with Borg babies. I don't know.
She's just like domesticated housewife.
Yeah, and Data.
There is one. It's called the King of Queens.
Yeah, the King of Borg Queens.
So
Kevin James is the Borg King.
Oh, yikes.
I think my biggest pro with this movie is the story. Not to be negative about the greatest film of all time, Star Trek Generations, but I hated it, and it was a disaster. Frankly, folks, why did that story need to be told? I don't know. All I know was the crooked writers, very crooked. Okay, they did not bring their best. Okay, these are shithole writers, and they're bringing bad stories. But this one, folks, let me tell you, they know how to pick them, okay? These writers know the art of the deal. That's enough of you.
Did you say shithole writers?
Yeah, they're not
Oh
bringing
my
their
God, I
best.
love you.
They're not bringing their best.
Also, it's the same writers.
Oh.
That's neither here nor there.
Well,
Carry
they
on.
know how to pick them. But but I think my biggest problem with Star Trek Generations, in contrast with this movie, was that, number one, why did this story need to be told? And number two, it felt like a season 7 episode. It felt like a two-parter with a big budget. Like, it felt like a made-for-TV movie in terms of its plot. But with this is like cinema. It's incredible. And the story, I was not expecting this movie to be so dark. It was PG-13, so I don't know if I should be watching this. But it was shocking, and I really loved Picard in this movie. I think he's just so incredible. And what I love about it is how it ties into where the best of both worlds and all the great Borg episodes. And the Borg are just I'd say Trek's possibly their greatest antagonist. Like, they are just terrifying. This movie really unnerved me a lot of the times. And I really want to talk about my second biggest pro, the effects. Because the Borg look incredible. And I was not expecting David Cronenberg body horror in my Star Trek. not my Star Trek. But this is going against Gene's vision. I hate this movie. Why is everyone yelling at each other? Everybody knows in the future, nobody argues. Anyway, but looking at the recently assimilated crew was actually that was more those guys were more scary to me than the regular fully assimilated Borg. It was just so terrible. The guy in the Jeffries tube or the lady going up the ladder, and then you see them later and they're assimilated and their skin is pale and gross and kind of bluish and yellow, and they have the parts growing out of their cheek and their eyes. That's horrifying. Or the scene where they're getting their arms cut off. Also, skin being grafted on the Data, pretty nasty. And I think finally is the cinematography. Because, again, this feels like a movie with great shots and angles. Because Generations was shot so flatly. I don't mean to turn this into the Generations bashing podcast. If you want to see that, check out our Generations episode. But, I'm just saying, it was shot like an episode of TNG. But this is shot like a movie. And so it just, it brings this up to a higher echelon. Those are my pros.
Very good. Thank you, Connor. Joselyn, top pros.
First off, I agree with Chelsea and Leta. Lily is amazing, and I love her, and I want to be her friend and never her enemy for sure. Mm-hmm. But my top 3 pros are, and I'll begin as I always begin with the fashion. It's a short list, but it's here. Beverly Crusher. Look at you. I love those blonde highlights. I love it with that space executive take no prisoners haircut. I like it. And that was the only hair that I liked in this movie, but that's in the cons.
What about Picard?
Second, fashion. The way the Borg Queen's uniform looked, especially good, but down to the detail of those little extensions on her chest, pulling at her skin is so creepily perfect. So good. The way her face always looks kind of wet in a way. I don't know. It was just perfect. A lot of excellent leading ladies in this movie. Second, is it just me or is Picard especially salty in this one? I've never seen him so sarcastic before, and he started right out the gate being pretty sarcastic. And I like that. I like a salty Picard. I like a little spice with my Jean-Luc, so that was nice.
Sounds like a drink, a salty Picard.
Ooh,
extra spicy.
Yes.
Ooh, easy on the eyes.
Yeah.
I want to drink that on a beach.
I hate it. No, I'm just kidding. I love that. I would love that. Could use one right now, actually. Okay, last top pro. Tonally, they just got this one right. They intercut parts of suspense with comedy. They've got the teamwork down. They actually feel like a fully functional team that knows each other. They understand how to build up to the big reveal of the Borg Queen. Like Leta said, coming in. Spinal cord first, sacrum first. Wow. They layered in the dramatic tension. Not only are they trying to escape the Borg, but they also have to save First Contact. And Picard has to convince Lily not to phaser his ass. And so it's all those things are happening layer upon layer at the same time. We also get some really great sexual tension between Lily and Picard, Data and the Borg Queen, Barclay and Cochrane. It's just really, really, it's good.
Oh my God.
Cochrane and alcohol.
So those are my top pros. Hey, where's the lie?
Barclay
no lies
Cochrane.
detected. Thank you, Jocelyn. Jordan, top pros.
Well, if you guys like the wet skin look, then you're looking at it because I just mowed the lawn and it's 100 degrees outside. I call it sweat, but it's how I keep that constant shine. But talking about First Contact, what a great idea. And just to have this culture that's maybe not ready for warp travel and they know it. I thought that was interesting. I thought Riker It's starting with a mystery and him being this alien, and then the alien doctor trying to force him to make love to her to have her escape. Are we talking about the episode First Contact, Jeremy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You guys' faces look like you didn't know what I was talking about. Oh, the movie First Contact. I meant to lead with that joke, and now it sounds dumb because I already acknowledged that we're doing First Contact, but we'll fix it in post.
The Picard.
Top 3 pros for me, you got to start with the E. The Enterprise E looks beautiful. It is glorious. It's shot like it's film ready. Trying to make the TNG bridge or the Enterprise D bridge look film, it didn't look great on film, and it wasn't shot great, but the E just looks amazing from the exterior shots, the interior shots. I just love everything about that. That's my favorite Enterprise.
Oh,
I also love the soundtrack as well. I'm trying not to take anyone else's top pros, but it's hard not to talk about the soundtrack because this is the best, definitely, especially coming off Generations, where like Chelsea said she didn't notice the soundtrack. It's because it sucked. That's probably why you didn't notice. And like sometimes you don't notice a good soundtrack because it just fits the film, but this is one like that you notice it and it just accentuates every part of the film that it's in. It's not overutilized, and just that opening score is beautiful. And then you jump out of that into Picard's nightmare fuel dream. Within a dream, that was pretty cool. But I guess lastly, Jonathan Frakes directing this movie. I think it was a great choice. The way that he shoots this film is wonderful, and him knowing the history of the Borg and Star Trek. We'll see later in Nemesis where they get a director that knows nothing about Star Trek, and it does not exactly work out well. So I'm really glad they made that choice. And those are my top 3 pros.
And my top 3 pros will probably be pretty similar to your guys's, but there's so many great pros out here. I'm going to go with the Enterprise E also, and I will tell you right now, that is also my favorite Enterprise. And that was not always the case with me. It's actually taken like years, maybe decades, for me to realize that. I don't know what changed in me throughout the years, but slowly but surely, that Sovereign class has risen in the ranks. It's just beautiful. I wish we had more time with her. I'd love to see the ship again on screen now that we are currently in the next Trek-assance, because there are currently 2 Trek series going on right now where the Enterprise E is still out there. On lower decks, it's still the flagship of the Federation and captained by Jean-Luc Picard. I don't care if it's animated. I would love to see. Yeah, because this Lower Decks is about a year after the last Next Gen movie.
So what you're saying is there's a chance for like a Patrick Stewart cameo?
There's always a chance. You're saying? Yeah. But more importantly, an Enterprise E cameo.
I mean, okay.
That's not real Star Trek. Star Trek has never had an animated outing.
Right. Yeah. And then over on the actual show Picard. It could still be out there. It's apparently in the comic books, it's out there being captained by Worf or someone. So I would love to see, again, like Chelsea, I would love to see Worf too, but I really want to see that Enterprise. I can't describe to you how nerdily teary-eyed I would be to see that beautiful ship on screen just one more time. And this has been mentioned a bunch, but it still needs to be mentioned because it's absolutely a top pro, and that is Lily. During our review of The Voyage Home, I mentioned that Gillian Taylor is my second favorite non-villain guest star in a Trek film. That's because number 1 is Lily. I love her so much. Alfre Woodard just brings so much to this role. She's badass, she's funny, she's sweet, and she can do the one thing no one else in the movie dares to, and that's confront Picard. Their friendship in First Contact is one of the biggest things that makes this movie work for me. And those 2 actors together, it's just so great. I love them together. And I'm so happy that they did go with them just being friends, because there was, for a long time, that main draft was them becoming romantic, and I'm so glad they just kept it platonic and friends because they work so great on that level. This movie represents for me the greatest year I ever had as a Star Trek fan. And that's really where the sentimentality begins to take hold, because I can never separate that feeling whenever I watch this film. In November of 1996, when this released, Deep Space Nine was like a great deal into its amazing 5th season right now. And I don't quite remember at what point Deep Space Nine surpassed The Next Generation as my all-time favorite Trek series, but it was somewhere around this period of time. And to this day, both Next Gen and Deep Space Nine remain my 2 favorite Star Trek series. As much as I love the original series and the original movies, it was The Next Generation that made me a lifelong diehard Trek fan. So the sheer elation I had after walking out of that theater opening night was a feeling of excitement for this franchise that I had never had prior or even since. One of my favorite series was firing on all cylinders on television, while my other just made an incredible feature film with presumably no end in sight. As far as I knew in November of 96, this was just the beginning of amazing Next Generation movies, and the original series had 6. So I was waiting for 4 more movies like this, and of course we would only end up getting 2 more and of much lesser quality, but it's a little sad to look back on now. But back in 96, boy, when this came out, I was right in it, and the sky was the limit. Such an exciting time. We didn't even have the internets back then, so I didn't even know how good this movie was going to be until the Friday this movie came out. I had to get the paper and read the paper review of this movie. And I still remember, out of 4 stars, the paper gave it 3.5, and I was so excited. All right, let's get into remaining pros. Chelsea, do you have any remaining pros and or neutral zones?
I do. I just want to take a moment and talk about how insanely ripped Picard was.
Please.
Wow.
Body was Picard.
Oh,
Yeah. Wow. Just going to leave that there.
speaks for itself.
It really does.
Troy getting absolutely smashed in the name of the mission was great. But I think what made that even better was her getting like super like drunk girl spicy with Riker and like poking him in the chest. I was like, yeah, get it, girl. Okay, quick question about that though, because she's like clearly just like drunk as shit. Mm-hmm. And like 10 minutes later, she's fine. Like she fell asleep on a table, and then like the next scene, she's just like,
yeah, there's
totally fine.
She's a seasoned alcoholic. It's what they do.
I mean, I'll allow it.
Okay.
And I'd also believe it.
Maybe her species has like really fast metabolism.
Ooh.
Also,
So
why
she gets drunk super fast and she gets undrunk
just as fast. Yeah.
even faster. Yeah.
this isn't really a pro, but why is she always asking everybody like, what's wrong? Like, isn't it literally your job to tell us? But that's neither here nor there. But she did that to Picard. She's like, what's wrong? It's like, don't you already know? Isn't that why you're here?
Can't you hear him hear them?
Yeah, get with it. She'd probably already slammed some tequila in the closet, like Connor said, though, so that's probably why. Mm-hmm. The away team was, I think, probably one of the highlights for me. I thought it was great how they're just kind of hanging out on Earth with, like, a total legend, like, getting shit-faced, fulfilling, like, childhood dreams of, like, being on the first, like, warp-capable flight, while the rest of their crew is literally fighting for their lives in orbit. And they have no idea. Just like happy as hell, thinks everything's great. Like probably up there thinking Picard's like hanging out, reading. And he's like, the crew is actively dying and getting assimilated. I don't know. Geordi's eyes were so cool. Mm-hmm. And I love that we finally get to see LeVar Burton's like whole face. Also, I thought it was kind of ironic because he seems to kind of poke fun at Data for like not catching on to like slang and sarcasm. And he struggled with that himself in this movie when he's like, leak? I don't sense any leak. Like not realizing that like Cochrane just needed to go take a piss and probably like pound a couple shots.
At the same time. Yeah, like a man.
I did love how funny he thought that was. I was like, oh, I get it. That's really funny. Yeah. It's like, all right, guy.
It's like, all right, yeah, so you're not so far from Data. Like, settle down. Mm-hmm. I love how Data just played the shit out of the Borg Queen. Like, I was convinced, too. I was like, I don't know how this happened, but clearly it's happened. But then I started thinking, and I don't think I've ever seen an episode with Data where he hasn't done something that surprises me. So I feel like I should have expected that, but I didn't. So that was pretty cool. And I know they mentioned this in the actual film, but Zephyr Cochrane was really kind of a cool character. Like, they very easily could have portrayed him as like this like genius, saintly, like very orderly like individual, because I feel like that's more Star Trek than how they portrayed him.
Well, and funny story, they did originally in Star Trek, because he was in an original series episode and was very much how you describe him.
Yeah. So I love that he just kind of turned out to be like a guy who's like seen some shit. He's been through shit. He struggles with alcohol. He doesn't even want to go to space. He's horrified of flying. He just needs money. Like, I get that Star Trek's like, oh, it's like utopia and money's not important and everybody's happy and everything's good. But like, I like that they didn't kind of gloss over how the human race actually is. So I just thought it was kind of fun that such a hooligan played such an integral part in like the Star Trek history of the, I don't know, kind of interesting. I do have some observations. It seems weird to say, but the Borg are really accepting of everybody, and maybe we should strive to be like that, guys. I mean, like, their intentions are all wrong, but they're pretty accepting.
Yeah, they're very inclusive.
So if you take away anything...
I mean, as long as you look and talk and think like them, yeah, they love you.
Yeah. Everyone's welcome.
Yeah. As long as you...
I disagree. It's not a, oh, you look, talk, and think like us. We want you. It's, we want you because you're different. Now you're going to look, talk, and think like us.
We're going to take all the things that make you awesome and make us awesome.
So they're just like white suburbanites, like appropriating hip hop culture.
You know what? Forget I said anything. Good God. All right. Felt like they were
appropriating android culture, and I won't stand for it.
Gentrifying space.
The Borg are canceled. You heard it here, folks.
I felt like there were a lot of similarities between Picard and the way he was handling the Borg, being on the Enterprise and assimilating his crew, to the way Sisko kind of handled the entire war with the Founders, which is fine because that's Sisko, but it was interesting to see Picard. That's really out of norm for him. But like the scene where he was talking to Beverly about like, we're not going to abandon the ship, all I could like picture was Sisko. That was kind of cool. And my last observation is the Borg, girl, that queen, she sure likes to brag about being perfect, to be the most aesthetically repulsive thing wandering the universe. Like, come on, you're gross. You get dressed each day by having a crane lower the top half of your body into the bottom half while your spine just kind of like wiggles around. Not to mention the fact that you have hooks holding on your face skin. So, like, sit your ass down. You're not perfect.
But despite all that, isn't there something alluring about her?
No, she looks wet all the time.
I don't think so either, guys.
My man. It's the slimy onion head.
But I'll get into that more in the cons. So that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea. Leta, do you have any remaining pros or neutral zones?
Yeah, I thought that the Vulcan lander was beautiful. It was a gorgeous ship. It's like burgundy matte color with like angles that all point to the doorway. Like, if I have a spaceship, that's the one that I want to come out of and be like, haha, here I am. Also, Picard looks amazing in his Earth gear. It's like really simple, but I loved it on him. And I'm just so thankful that this movie gave us a really up-close look of Jean-Luc Picard in that sleeveless vest. I'm a little bit confused. Did he take off his undershirt and put his vest back on? He's like, no nipples, can't show that. I don't understand. Also, best Beverly scene in the whole movie was when she pulled in the doctor. I loved seeing him.
Yeah.
Grumpy and smartassy as usual. And then we get Neelix. Like, can we just go ahead and claim this as a Voyager crossover? Everyone? Yeah? No? Okay.
Yeah.
And also, yes, Drunk Deanna is adorable, but I also loved how Riker was just like smiling at her like a love-struck boy the whole time. He was like, you're just so adorable. I love that when guys think drunk girls are cute. Not in a creepy way. Never mind. scratch that. And I also
Leta's canceled. You heard it here first, folks.
in like they're together. Anyways, Deanna's outfit was adorable. I thought it was really cute. Very 90s, cozy. Everybody's mountain gear was really cool. But yeah, that's all the rest I have for pros.
All right. Thank you, Leta. Connor, do you have any remaining pros or neutral zones?
I do indeedly do. So Chelsea talked about this, but Zefram Cochrane is a great character. And I think it's a wonderful way to portray a historical figure, because I think, especially like in places like here in America, we have a very we're taught a very mythologized kind of version of our past. Like, no joke, when I was in first grade, I was literally taught from like a cartoon in the 70s. Like, they wheeled out the old TV and put in a tape. And it was this cartoon from the 70s that said, George Washington cut down a cherry tree and he never told a lie. And I was taught that was an objective fact, So we were taught a very mythologized episode where they went into the 90s, but it wasn't like the 90s of the Star Trek timeline. It was just our 90s, which is way lamer than people think it is. But they just went to the 90s. And I think what was great about this and that in past tense was that they showed that the future, the immediate future, was like bleak and terrifying. But, humanity, they evolved and they progressed. And there's something just kind of beautiful about that, because going around like that camp, you just see how like desperate these people are. And it's very reminiscent of the Cisco, one of my favorite Cisco speeches, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. But these people are just trying to survive. And I really loved Zefram Cochrane. Lily has been touched on, so there's not really a lot I can say there, other than touching on possibly my favorite scene in the whole movie, which was her saying, yeah, because Ahab has to catch his white whale. And that was like, that's so incredible. I love Oliver Twist, so a reference to that book just blew my mind. Amazing. But that was such an incredible scene. And just seeing Picard, like, this wasn't, we'll fight to the death to keep the ship. It wasn't a tactical decision. It was just like, we're going to, it's just revenge. It's just about, like, he's blinded by his hatred of the white whale. And that's really clever, and the acting in that scene was so phenomenal, and Lily was such a great character. I like that. I have a lot of pros, if that's not evident. I love that Worf is actually useful in this movie. A problem with a lot of, especially early on Next Gen, was that he's very reminiscent of Superman and the DCAU shows in like the first seasons of those. Or Superman would just be like thrown around by the villain of the week to show how like powerful they were, and like the Justice League show. And Worf was like that a lot, where like the big badass Klingon warrior would constantly be thrown around like a rag doll by things way smaller than he was. But Worf really gets to shine in this movie and actually be a really standout character, and he has such great growth. And I love the scene where Picard calls him like a coward, because Worf doesn't see any tactical sense in holding on to the ship at this point. And that's so, like, if you were any other man, I'd cut you down where you stand. Like, dang. It's, like, that's just how, like, crazy Picard is about the Borg. And, there's a ton of other stuff I'm sure everyone will cover. So I'll just cover one scene that stood out particularly. And the guy in the hallway's getting assimilated. And he's like, "Help me, Picard. The Borg are so strong and I'm weak. Don't let them assimilate me." And I'm just sitting there on the couch thinking, we can't just leave him here. Oh no. And Picard, he zaps the guy. He's like, he's too dangerous to be left alive. And he just shoots him. He gats him. Drive by Picard, and then he drives into that vent. That was awesome. That's what I got out of this movie.
You totally got the
This
point.
movie was about shooting stuff. That's what Star Trek's about. It's not about this fancy talking and science fiction. It's about punching things you don't understand. Next.
Well said, Connor. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't understand the media I consume.
Jocelyn, any remaining pros or neutral zones?
I do. I have quite a few. As if I couldn't love Adam Scott anymore, here he is piloting the Defiant. And also he gets the big line, "It's the Enterprise." Loved that moment for him. Loved it for me and for him. Speaking of guest stars, and I know we've touched on this, but Alfre Woodard is in this, Alice Krieg, James Cromwell, Neil McDonough. How do you say his, I don't know, the blue-eyed guy who tragically becomes a Borg.
Donahue?
Sure. McDonough. Let's go with that. He has shockingly never played a Bond villain, and that surprises me because he's just got that kind of face. Neelix being the least annoying he's ever been. And then, of course, Barclay being Barclay was lovely.
The same amount of annoying he's always been.
I agree. It was just enough Barclay, though.
Yeah.
Barclay has a very strong flavor. You just need a pinch, and then you need to walk away. I think Jeremy and Jordan have both touched on this, but I really did like the exterior look of the Enterprise E. She put on some weight, and I think it looks good. I like a thick Enterprise. I also loved how all the other starships showed up to the initial Borg battle wearing like matching navigational deflectors. I thought that was really, really cute. So more of that. The doctor being summoned and showing up and then offering the Borg an analgesic cream. That was just like perfect. Very nice. Lily obviously is a huge pro, and she has some of the best lines. It's my first ray gun. Borg sounds Swedish. Watch your caboose, dicks. Like, she has the best lines, and she's great. And of course, the scene in the ready room is great. But my favorite scene of hers is when they're all getting into the escape pods, and it's become obvious that Picard is not going. She said, "You're not going," and he says, "No, I'm going to stay behind." And we get like a second, and we're like, well, here it is. Here's the love moment. Here's where she's like, "I'm with you." But she was like, "Okay, good luck, dude. Don't die." Bye. I'm getting out of here. Like, I was just like, yes, this is a pragmatic woman. This is who we were sold as Lily, and they're being consistent, and it was awesome. Neutral zone wise, a few things. I'm honestly just sitting here wondering how many people die in the mid to late 21st century because they refuse to get their theta radiation vaccine. I'm just going to start worrying about that now, if it's okay with everybody.
Dude, could you imagine the Borg attack?
By that time, the people that refuse vaccines might already be died off.
Could you imagine if the Borg attacked right now and people would like walk up to Borg to get assimilated? I don't think Borg are real. And then they're getting assimilated with the tubes in their necks. I can't believe this has happened. Why didn't anyone warn me?
Anyway, that just some reflection.
The Borg will go away like things go away. It'll be miraculous.
That's because, no, never mind.
Praise gibbers. The Borg decorate their spaces uncommonly fast. Like, I was in an apartment for 8 years, and I never hung a picture. Meanwhile, the Borg just moved into the Enterprise like 10 minutes ago, and they've already got built-in regeneration stations everywhere.
They're like squatters. They're like, we got to move in. We can claim squatters' rights.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You just try to get us out of here.
Now you can't evict us.
Yeah, we're the whole aesthetic now. They changed the lighting scheme. Somehow they rigged up like a ceiling lift. I don't know. They're very, like, in terms of contractors, if I was building a starship, I think I would employ the Borg. I think missed opportunity. There's a missed market for them there, I think. And then my last neutral zone, and this truly is a neutral zone, like the story is very economical. We've got Picard reliving a trauma, the attack and the subsequent destruction of the Borg cube, and then the reveal of Beverly's bomb chunky highlights, and time travel within the first 15 minutes, all happening within the first 15 minutes. And it does feel rushed, which is why it's neutral zone to me. But like, we also cover a lot of ground and lay a lot of like support material that we need. And so I'm not mad at it. It's just worth mentioning. That's all. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Very good. Thank you, Joselyn. Jordan, any remaining pros or neutral zones?
I can think of a few. I do like I said, the opening imagery and just the scale that this movie starts with, to see Picard as the cutest on that Borg sphere, and then kind of adding backstory to that and how he's kind of forgotten about the Borg Queen and that relationship, that dream within a dream sequence that just like he wakes up, but then he wakes up again, and just that, just the effects of that thing under his skin and just like popping out was just like, as a 10-year-old kid, I was like, whoa. Even as a 35-year-old man, I'm still like, whoa. So just that implant and the effect. I mean, for 1996, we're talking 25 years ago. That's almost the 25th anniversary of this film. And it just holds up so much better than any of the Trek films we've watched so far as the effects. I love the uniforms. Obviously, we've seen them on Deep Space Nine for forever. I think that's kind of, when I think of Star Trek and Starfleet, that's the uniform that I see in my head. And just bringing those, especially after the dysfunction of Generations, not to dump on Generations, where they've got like multiple uniforms going on, and like Riker's uniform doesn't fit, and like these are like tailored movie quality uniforms, and they look great. So I would love if they still had these uniforms. I love quantum torpedoes. I just love the change in the blue torpedoes, and just the first time we really get to see them. Seeing the scale of the space battle between multiple ships and the Borg cube. Like, I don't think up to this point in Star Trek we've really seen that. Maybe a little bit in Deep Space Nine, but this is even before we really get those large scale space battles. So this is just young me seeing a Borg cube attacked by like 25 Federation ships, and the Defiance there and the E. It was just jaw-dropping. I love that. They actually give Worf, and this is the only TNG film where this will probably happen, a believable reason for being there. So I appreciated that. I liked the fact that this centers around, and when I was reading through like fun facts and things, there's actually a couple different historical events that they thought of putting this around, and one was like Victorian era, and the Borg were going to assimilate a castle, and I was like, what the? So I'm really glad they went with a past event for Star Trek, but future event for us. I thought that was a really good setting to kind of build the lore around like post World War III and the flight of the Phoenix, and it just ties in so much better than what could have been a disaster. I love the Doctor's cameo, like Jocelyn said, that analgesic cream. Oh my gosh, he kills it in that, and he's the Doctor playing the original version of the Doctor. So, and because we're in season 3 in Voyager here, so he's definitely progressed, but he just pulls that off perfectly. There's a lot of nice little cameos. Not sold on the Neelix cameo or his stupid pencil-thin mustache, but at least he got his head scrambled. Geordi getting to lose his visor I thought was awesome, because you get to see LeVar emote, and then they just put sunglasses on him anyways later on. But I would assume that's just so people don't see his high-tech eyes and are like, whoa, what's wrong with you? Although he could just say they're contacts, but whatever. Lily was super strong, and she was pretty much going to be my top 3, but you guys kind of already touched on her. But just calling Picard out on his BS, and you see like Beverly, who's been there forever, kind of a weak character, I guess you could say at times. And she's like, no, we follow the captain's orders, even though they're dumb. And Lily's like, oh, the heck with that. I'm going to go yell at him. I do think it's funny that the thing that sets Picard off and kind of sets him straight is that she quotes a book that he fortunately has read. But, he's a well-learned man. So the scene where Geordi says he's not detecting any leaks, I remember just getting a kick out of that. And then Geordi thinks that that's funny. It's just tells you everything about Geordi that you need to know about his sense of humor. The Borg Queen, super strong, and just that opening sequence of her and her spine coming down into her suit, like Jocelyn mentioned, and then just like pulling at her skin. It's just like creepily awesome and perfect at the same time. I love that we get a Dixon Hill callback. That's phenomenal. That you can tell like the writers of this film had time to actually write this film, and Generation, same writers, but it's amazing that you give someone time to write a story, what they can come up with. So, and you know what? I don't think maybe in the history of Star Trek that's going to get much cooler than Captain Picard in a 1930s lounge in a white tux shooting Borgs with a Tommy gun. Like,
hell yeah.
That alone is good enough to beat Generations. So that was really cool. I like that we see Barclay. We get to see Nurse Ogawa in there. And then that one girl that has kind of like almost like a mullet that's in a bunch of TNG episodes. It's just a background character. Even she's in it. So like they used a lot of the same actors and even extras from the show that just kind of helps tie things in even more. Even though we're on a different ship, it's still pretty much the same crew. And this is definitely a Picard and Data centric movie, as pretty much all the TNG movies are. But this utilizes the rest of the cast so much better than the previous film and probably the next two films in most ways as well. But I felt everyone had a little something to do. It may not have been the most impactful, but they had lines. I bet most of the cast would say this is their favorite film because of that. I love the deflector dish scene. That was almost the top pro for me. Like I remember the theater cheering when they see Worf with this severed Borg hand tied around his leg. Like that was so awesome. That hole in his EV suit. I don't know the physics of that actually, the science behind tying a severed hand around your hole in your spacesuit. But hey, I buy it. And the fact that he takes a mechleth out there, like holding it in his suit, seems like a bad idea, but it worked out really well. Better than a bat left, because that could go really, really wrong. But and then he just blows it up, and of course, classic one-liner from Worf: "Assimilate this." Like it doesn't get much better than that. I do also like that they take this perspective of meeting your heroes, kind of like Connor was mentioning. Like the heroes we read about in history typically are not the same people that they actually were, and this history tends to over-exaggerate them. And we see Zefram Cochrane and everyone kind of like this hero worship. And he's just this average dude who just wants to make money so he can go retire to an island. Like that's his driving force. And that's such a good juxtaposition against what Star Trek is, where, Picard's talking to Lily how there's no money in the future and we no longer strive for the acquisition of things and wealth. Like we all work together. She's like, how much does the ship cost? Like, well, we don't have money in the future. So it's just funny that is birthed from Zefram Cochrane and his selfish desires is what basically gives us the future and the Federation that we see today. So the line, the line must be drawn here this far, no farther, is just amazing. And then in our Star Trek Wars intro, you had that for forever, and I'll make them pay for what they've done. Like just the way Patrick Stewart delivers those lines is just so impactful, and where he's coming from because of what's happened to him and how damaged he is from the Borg and being assimilated. Like you can just feel that. Chelsea mentioned this, but Picard is jacked. Like this guy, I don't look like that in my 20s, and he's like, 60 something in this film, and he's just like flying around like Tarzan in engineering, just well, the Borg melt below him, and he's, oh my gosh. I did not really care for his tactical vest, but I like just the wife beater so he could show off his guns. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, you said that he was damaged, and I think in a lot of ways Picard is a lot like Jared Leto's Joker.
How dare you?
Very damaged, very complicated.
Speaking of Jokers, get out of here.
Wow.
How do we know Picard's damaged if it's not tattooed on his forehead?
That's a great point.
Exactly.
Offended us all.
And I love Picard's fatality on the Borg Queen, where he literally grabs her spine. He doesn't just like break it; he just like snaps it violently into. Like that was incredible. You can see a lot of frustration coming out of him there. And then this film births First Contact Day, which is awesome and will be expanded upon in Enterprise. And perhaps you'll hear about it in my next time on. But I could go on and on. I love the whole film. I guess I'll add that Data kind of being his line of "I was tempted for 0.68 seconds," which is an eternity for an android. I thought that was great, and I'm sure Brent Spiner enjoyed this film as well, getting to actually use his emotion chip. But yeah, I loved everything about it. Jeremy, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, you guys covered most of it, so I won't go through all of it again. But touching on what you said, Joselyn, if you want to see Neil McDonough in playing a great villain, he played one in the 3rd season of Justified.
Oh, Jocelyn's seen Justified.
I did see that.
Yeah, he played
I did watch that.
Quarles, the guy from Detroit, in Justified, and he was great.
He did a great job.
He looks
That's why you like Detroit so much.
Yeah, that's right.
He probably is.
He looks
Probably
exactly
is.
like the puppets from Team America, and it bugs the hell out of me.
He does.
Like, exactly.
He really does.
Like,
He
every
does.
phase of his life, he just looks like one of those puppets, and it just makes me kind of gag. I don't know.
Wow, good. Nice read. That's spot on. Ooh.
And Jordan,
It didn't help that on that scene in the exterior when they're on the deflector disc, you could see the strings holding him up when he was.
I just picture like the vomiting in the bar scene.
yeah,
I don't know. It's like I just expect him to bend over and start comically throwing up till it's 4 feet deep.
that does explain his funny fight scene with Picard when he's
Just in the
assimilated.
air.
Yeah. Going off what you said, Jordan, you're absolutely right with the scripts between Generations and First Contact. You see what Brandon Braga and Ronald D. Moore can do when they actually have time. That makes total sense. You look at their last 3 scripts. It was the All Good Things from Next Generation. Amazing. And then First Contact here, and then sandwiched in between was Generations. So one of them suffered. So you give them actual time, just perfect scripts, except for the one in the middle, which was awful. Yeah, this is my favorite Star Trek soundtrack by far, among so many incredible Star Trek soundtracks. The main theme of this movie never fails in making me emotional when I hear it, to the point that early on in Star Trek Wars, I just stopped using the Next Generation theme when we were talking about Next Gen and would just play the First Contact theme, even though that had nothing to do with the Next Generation series. But I love this soundtrack so much. Jean-Luc Picard, I disagree with anyone who says this movie is out of character for him. This is a man that was violated and traumatized 6 years ago, and this film is really the first time since then he's had to deal with it head on. And apparently he had a lot of demons still left to exercise out. It's such an incredible performance by Patrick Stewart. It's really hard to remember that this Picard, the same character, was struggling in a fist fight against a senior citizen a mere 2 years ago. You imagine this Picard struggling to take down Soren?
It's like the same Worf that got knocked out by an empty barrel.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Picard got Deep Space Nined. He's just so much better. Yeah, I just love this movie so much, and you guys have touched on it. It feels like a cinematic outing. It feels like a real, actual movie. You get a new ship, new uniforms, actual stakes. It's just, I love it so much. It feels like you should see it in the theater, and I did multiple times. I saw it opening night, which was on my father's birthday, and my present to him was not asking him to go with me.
That's thoughtful.
Yeah, he liked it. He really appreciated it. And then I saw it one last time in the Dollar Theater the following 3rd of March, which was my birthday. I saw it with my mom as a birthday present to me. So this movie means more to me than I can actually express or even fully understand myself. I just love it so much. Neutral Zone wise, it's still a movie, so unfortunately most of the cast members are not going to get a ton of screen time. But this is still leagues above Generations in that regard. Like, what they did with Picard and Data, the 2 leads in Generations, is just awful. But what they did with them here is perfection. I love, they were used so well. then aside from that, like the rest of the characters, which always get a little bit overlooked, Riker was great in this, and he had an actual like leading and away team. What did Riker do in Generations?
What was that movie about again? I'm just kidding.
Well, there's this guy. His name's Sauron.
But what Riker didn't do anything in Generations. Deanna,
No.
she got a fun scene. She played drunk, and Marina was so great in that. Granted, after finding Cochrane, she got relegated back to flight control, but she still got really good scenes. Poor Beverly. She still isn't given much of anything here. This is better, but though in 2 straight movies now, we get a point of view shot of her looking down at someone in sickbay as they regain consciousness. It's kind of weird. We'll see if that streak continues. Worf gets to actually fight. He has that epic scene with Picard. If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand. And like you guys mentioned, that's because I think it was you, Leta. You said this is Deep Space Nine Worf on Next Generation now, and you see that and it feels it. He's so good in this. Geordi's about the same as he was in Generations, but at least he's sporting his first contacts here, and they're cool.
Nice.
So I know it's a bit mixed, but I would say for the most part, everyone is better served here than in the previous movie and in movies to come. We'll see how it goes. All right. Yeah, we went a little long in prose, but I have a feeling the next segment is not going to be as long. But after the break, we will jump into cons. My friends, if you have $1 or more you can live without, please consider becoming a Patreon member. Now, with over 50 episodes for you to listen to, it is a great time to join. For as low as $1 a month, you have access to every special we've ever done, covering a wide array of topics such as movies.
It's like a Subway sandwich. Looks good on the inside, but then you take a bite of that big, succulent, sweaty meat sandwich, and when you take that juicy, succulent bite,
Don't feel so good.
It don't taste so good.
I thought you liked it, Connor.
Subway?
No.
The movie. Television.
Who voices Geralt in the games?
Doug something.
Okay.
I've never actually looked him up. I don't want to ruin the voice.
Sometimes it's better that
the face.
you don't. I've done that before, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
And if you're listening, don't do that with us either.
And our ongoing coverage of the groundbreaking series Babylon 5. The alien helping Walker in the moot eye actually has a moot eye. One of them doesn't work.
I forgot to mention him.
So if you want access to every bonus episode we've ever done, or just like to support us here at Star Trek Wars, please donate to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Star Trek Wars.
Yes, my entire family's being targeted, but we don't have time to save them right now because I'm on a date with Patreon.
All right, and welcome back. And normally, this is a segment where we do cons here, but since none of us have any, I think we can just
What?
move on.
Wait, what? Huh?
Oh, okay. All right, I guess if you guys do have cons, we probably don't need to, I'm guessing, break this into 2 different segments. So let's just do all cons, get them out of the way, whatever 1 or 2 you might have for sure. Nitpicky cons. Chelsea, we will start with you.
Okay, I have 4.5.
Okay.
I know.
All right, let's hear it.
The scene where Data breaks free of the restraints that were holding him to the table, and like the Borg Queen's like little, are they called drones?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So they like start attacking him, and then like they like do like the little cat thing, and they like slash him, and then she's like calling them off, and she waves them off with like physical signaling.
Oh.
Why? I didn't think they needed to do that. That seemed like crap.
Chelsea, that is such a great nerdy catch that
right.
I love it.
Right after she was chewing out Data for...
Yeah, like using words. And then she's like, hey, guys, like puts her hands up, like, stop. Okay, just stop for a second. It's like, what are you? All
Stop right now.
It was for
young
us
man.
because we, the audience, are too stupid.
Yeah.
It's just stupid to know.
I just thought that was weird.
Like it's the end of
Absolutely.
a Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she could have easily done like maybe like just a slight little head nut tick or
Yeah,
something,
just like
and they would have.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah.
like that or Data when he turned off his like emotions
Yeah.
chip, just like to like signal, but like I'm sorry. I feel like if you're watching this movie, it's not your first Star Trek movie, and you've probably dealt with the Borg before. So like that just seemed weird.
Well, unfortunately, as the movies go on, they're gonna think the audience is dumber and dumber. But yeah,
great. Maybe I'll actually understand one of those. No, I'm just kidding. All right. The scene with Data and the Borg Queen. Well, with the skin and the hair.
Borg cream.
It was so gross. It was so cringy. Like, so cringy. And Joselyn, when you mentioned fashion and the lack of good hair, I was going to ask why you didn't like Data's arm hair, but I feel like that qualifies as hair in this movie. It was...
Oh, when she blew on it? That was so gross.
It was just like really... And I know it was like meant to be like sexual and like funny, but
I don't know if it's
I'm in
sexual
my
and funny.
30s and I'm married and I was like, this makes me uncomfortable.
Like, I don't know if it was very sexual and funny when she grafted someone's
was
skin
it good
onto
for
his
you?
arm.
It's like,
made me uncomfortable too, but in different ways, I guess.
oh my God.
We'll talk about this in therapy later.
Great, yeah. What's that? 6 o'clock, right, guys?
Yeah.
Can't be late this time.
Not this
Doc,
time.
I have this fantasy where people graft skin on my arm and blow on it.
That was really, really gross. I feel like I understand that I'm watching these movies with both Jeremy and Connor, but Jeremy's seen them so many times. I really feel like I'm watching them with Connor, and we sit on opposite ends of the couch. And I feel like when this happened, we both kind of like leaned up and like looked at each other, like, "What the fuck?"
We'll see.
And I feel like we share a lot of those moments, and it's kind of fun.
Doc, help me out. Wet gray skin is attractive, right?
Well, of course. Yeah, that's a given, right?
It was really gross.
Yeah, ask Jordan for that one.
Yeah, we all like Jordan's wet gray skin. No one's making fun of him.
Speaking of, takes me to my next con. I don't understand why she always looks like she has like she just went down a baby oil slip and slide head first. Like, it is nasty. Like, it is so gross. The other Borg drones are just like normal, like dry.
That's that analgesic cream that the doctor gave her.
Weird.
Yeah,
like
she's using it.
And honestly, if she really did moisturize, and like she probably wouldn't have to have like hooks holding her face on. So
Hey
it's
man,
gross.
Botox is expensive.
Also, Data looked a little green. Yeah. Why? Was that just our TV? Or did he just look a little green?
Which part of him?
His face.
Green.
What do you mean, which part of him? Joselyn?
Extra golden. So
I think it's the lighting, and then also just the difference between having his tan skin on one side and then you really
before
notice
that, he
green
like
he
walked into the room and he looked a little green.
They do have like those green. That was foreshadowing. Those green plasma containers that he punches open. That was probably
Yeah, when he's in engineering, like there's a lot of green lights coming down, so that must.
See, maybe I will understand some of the dumber movies. All right.
the Soylent green containers.
Only going to get better for me. I kind of felt like the beginning of the movie was a little slow, but don't ask questions because I don't know why.
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't really pick up until like we saw Cochrane for the first time. It wasn't bad. I didn't dislike it. It just felt a little boring to me, but maybe I was just in a weird headspace. I don't know. And then my half con is when they did like graft like the skin on Data's face. I was like, okay, Brent Spiner, like I see you. And then like you look at his other eye, it's like, oh, it's still Data. And so that was like confusing for me, and I didn't know how to feel about it.
That's fair.
Because I was like, oh, okay, if you could just like put your like hand over like your left eye. I'm like, all right, I got you. But then you take it down and it's horrifying. And those are all my cons.
Very, very fair cons. So yeah, we will accept those. Thank you, Chelsea. Leta, you have any cons?
Yeah, I guess I've been watching a little bit too much Doctor Who lately because when the Borg Queen was grafting that rectangle of skin on Data's arm, all I could think was, moisturize me.
I almost put that in mine.
Like, it was just running through my head. And maybe
perfect.
that's why she was so oily.
She's just screaming at everyone.
You never know. Also, the Dixon Hill part, was that really needed? I don't know. I feel like it just goes automatically into Holodeck story, and then he's all like, oh, you know me, martinis and skirts. Like, gross. Wasn't needed. Not my Star Trek.
It should have been Fairhaven.
Weird part of the movie. Also, everyone has the coolest outfits except for old Zeffy boy. He looks like an old-timey hobo who named himself King of the Scrapyard and is like making like himself a crown with like spare parts. I didn't get his outfit vibe at all. And I have to disagree with you, Joselyn. Beverly looked old. Hair and makeup did her dirty.
Oh,
She's got like roller curl hair going.
Okay.
You did.
Are we talking about Beverly?
Okay, that is so true.
Okay.
She's like everybody's mom that was like there to like put some band-aids on.
Maybe I like old Beverly. Maybe I want that mom vibe, you know?
What? Why did they have to like convert her from a ginger? What's wrong with gingers?
Well,
and choose your next words very wisely, Connor.
There is nothing wrong with gingers. In fact, I like them the most.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah, bro.
But I don't know. I don't see hair color.
It's very, very progressive of you. You know, I think all the problems
I know.
between people with different hair colors, I think would just go away if we didn't talk about it.
All right. Sorry to interrupt you, Leta. Carry on.
No, it's okay. I was done.
Please go.
I should have been done with Moisturize Me, but yeah. Nope, that's it.
Thank you, Leta. Connor, do you have any cons?
I do have some cons. Okay. So I think probably my biggest problem with this movie, and it's good, but I find it a little problematic. Not in like the cancel sense. I just mean like I have a problem with it. And it's at the very end, everyone's like, "Oh, we're on board the Enterprise again. All right, engage." You know, and it's like, dude, half the ship has been assimilated. Like they're dead. Like Geordi's like, "Hey, B team, put on the air conditioning," and they're all like, they were turned into zombie drone creatures, and like. At the very end of the movie, everyone's all smiles and rainbows. Like you come back and you learn that like half of your colleagues are dead, and they turn into monsters. But nobody like, I don't know. Kind of bothers me.
Most of them were killed by your captain.
Yeah. So you know, Chelsea has the observation deck, and so I've decided I need a place on the ship of my own. Welcome to the Opium Den. Here's my con, and also a bit of a neutral zone. I'll explain why. The Borg Queen. I want to talk about the Borg Queen. The neutral zone is not that I have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, I think the actress did a great job, and I think the writing was good. But I also feel like it makes the Borg less scary. The Borg without the Queen are terrifying. Like they are abjectly terrifying to me. Like they're the most alien thing on Star Trek, truly. Because you walk around their ships, it is it's freezing, and they don't even interact with you.
Isn't it super hot?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's hot?
Yes.
Oh,
39
sorry.
Celsius.
Well, I don't speak Chinese.
102 degrees.
It's 102 degrees? Oh, I thought that was... Oh,
Fahrenheit.
Sorry, American brain hurt. It's hot
This
in
is
there.
why people hate us, Connor.
Well, I don't know. I speak freedom temperature.
102 degrees was Nick Lachey's fourth band.
Yikes.
That's a great fact, Dad. But it's cut that out. Cut that out. It's really hot in there. I forgot where I was going. Oh, the Borg Queen. Sorry. Like, the Borg are terrifying to me. It's super hot in there. And like, they're these horrifying, truly alien creatures. But giving them a borderline sexy, like, I'll just say what we're all thinking, brother.
You got it.
Yeah. Like to do the wonton atomic tango with that, Baba. I tell you what, brother.
You know, giving them this, she very kind of, in a way, it humanizes the Borg by giving them this central figure. And you kill the Queen. Is this like Alien? You know, you kill the Queen and all the Borg around them die. Like, that to me is kind of dumb, and she's been here the whole time. Why? Like, I thought like Locutus was the kind of like Borg, not negotiator, but very like that human interface. And the Borg Queen is, this isn't a con. I just want to point out that she's like really gross and nasty and disgusting. Why does she have really nice lipstick though? Maybe she just found it on like one of the ensigns they assimilated.
She probably just like wipes it off her spine before it goes into the bottom half of her body.
You know, everyone's got their home brew. But I feel like the Borg Queen as a concept weakens how horrifying and truly alien the Borg are, in my opinion. But I think the actress did great, and I think the writing was very good. My final two cons: Picard broke those toy ships. Sir, those are made out of gold. And this is, listen, man, I know there isn't money in the future, but gold is a rare resource. And that's why today's episode is sponsored by Roslyn Capital Gold.
Oh, yes. Hey, old people, we know you're scared.
Maybe he should have like given the broken pieces to Lily. Like, she's still living in like normal, money-driven.
Right. Sell those at a pawn shop.
I mean,
How is
or
this
give them to
episode
Lily.
not sponsored by Skin Sheets, Connor?
Right, Skin Sheets.
Skin sheets. Good point. And finally, we have to talk about the greatest fashion crime known to man. Geordie's sunglasses. Disgusting. Disgusting. Listen, I know it's the 90s, a truly repulsive decade, but there's no excuse to wear that garbage on your face, LeVar. And you know it. You know what you did, LeVar.
Maybe it's like a security blanket, right? Because he's used to having like that whole like car air filter thing on his eyes.
Like a car's vent on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, you know what? This makes me feel safe.
Right. But now he's no longer blind to the possibility.
Or maybe the sun was just really bright.
Also, question. Did he have his eyes ripped out and put cybernetic implants in there?
Yeah, the other thing about those eyes, instead of shades, couldn't it just like changed colors? Could it become little shades?
Ooh.
Or could it like make itself look like normal?
lenses.
Yeah, transitional lenses.
It's like a transformer, like turns into different things.
Yeah, he just screams as it changes, so then it's fine. All right, thank you, Connor. All right, Jocelyn, do you have any remaining cons?
I do. I'm going to tell all of them to you. Right?
Yes.
Yep, here we go.
All two.
All of them. This is a good movie, and I love doing cons for movies I really love because I can really pick them apart, but I still know that I love it. So there must have been something to the movie if there were all these things that were not great, and I still loved it. So let's commence. I can't believe this hasn't been brought up yet, but someone show me the bastard that did that to Deanna Troy's hair.
What happened to her hair?
It looked like human hair to me.
Me too. I'm so bad at the girl stuff.
They
Me too.
flattened it.
They flattened
flat
it?
ironed her hair.
I mean,
Deanna Troy.
Unacceptable.
maybe they were just like, hey, the humidity on Earth is a little wild. You're going to want to do something with this.
I think, I mean, I know we've talked about hair a lot between Beverly and Deanna, but I think that's who they did dirty was Deanna Troy. They were like, all right, you're one scene in this movie, you get drunk and belligerent. And also, we're going to flat iron your hair, but like put a little flip on the end. No, don't worry. It'll age well. No. She has beautiful, like bouncy, vibrant, like full of body hair. And they were like, how about instead none of that? I was angry, and I still am very angry, and it's hard for me to think about other things, but we will move on. The Enterprise can just time travel now. That's just a thing it can do. I know that we followed the Borg sphere into the past. Makes total sense. But then, after they save everything and we're near the end of the movie, they're like, okay, we're done in the 21st century. Time to head back to our, main timeline. They're just returning from space, Costco. No, you don't just get to time travel now. It's not just a thing Enterprise E can do, right?
No, they should have slingshotted.
Yeah, it's just because they're just like, hey, we're going to go really fast. right?
They had the Borg technology built into their ship because they had assimilated part of the.
Oh, okay. Because I was.
So the Borg, between decorating their apartment and, I guess, organizing a coup, decided to upgrade the Enterprise E to some kind of time travel device?
They're so efficient.
Sure.
Yes.
The Enterprise E went through the temporal wake and they got woke, so they could do whatever they wanted.
Oh, I get it now.
So they weren't just going fast.
Wake up, Jocelyn.
They actually could.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, they made some
Sleep
mention
this
of like recreating the Borg's time.
Okay. Because I was curious about that, but just decided it wasn't.
It's just like throwing it like a throwaway line.
We have to recreate the gravitational impulse of the time wave.
They have to go back. I get it. We can't make it a big thing, but I just thought sloppy. The Moby Dick references, the excellence of the actors in that scene aside, the Moby Dick hubris references are so 1982 Wrath of Khan. Like, I feel like we borrowed that one, and I feel like there are a lot of other books from that time period we could reference, like many, many, many others. I'm also not very excited for mid-21st century fashion. No one looks good in those colors. Neutral core, not something I'm looking forward to. Not at all. And then I'll just end with this litany of like mainly rhetorical questions. Why were the Enterprise shields down during the Borg attack? That's what enabled the Borg to transfer. Oh, our ships must have been down while we were getting fired at.
It was going through the
Makes
little.
no sense.
I thought it was because they were transporting the survivors off the Defiant.
Could be. Oh, yeah. Jordan
Is
seems to
it?
be giving you a.
Yes, I got the
Worf's
Jordan
fault.
approval.
Yep.
They did that before they blew up the Borg cube?
Yeah, because Worf like got hit, and they were like, "Oh, it's like I don't remember."
Drop shields
yeah,
to
and
beam
then
up the Defiant people.
yeah to get the survivors.
I guess they never
So
put the
now
shields
you
back
can beam people up from 2 locations to 1 location at the same time?
Why 2 locations? They were beaming from the Defiant to the Enterprise.
There were Borg on the Defiant?
No, they got hit.
The Borg
The
transported
Borg
over.
beamed in while they were beaming up people from the Defiant.
I just feel like
I think.
they would have noticed at the time, interesting. We're getting this transporter, like, reading from the Borg cube. Like, is no one monitoring the traffic
Well, they
in
made
and
that
out?
reference too. Like somehow they transport over without us detecting them. Like they were just as confused as you are.
Maybe if they brought O'Brien, that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
No, you can't have
Thank
actual
you.
Deep Space Nine characters going forward
False.
on any.
We had Worf.
It's a next gen loan.
A small load
That is not a
Still
loan.
Brian in this.
of no dollars.
Moving on. Why do the Borg, who are the most technologically advanced anything ever, love using drill bits and circular saws so much? It's like, you are the height of technology, and what are you using? You're like, I'm like, I have one of those in my closet.
And they upgraded to a tiny hand.
Like, it was, you know,
Do you simulate a
I'm
chipmunk?
just like, again, I'm just saying, if I need a contractor, the Borg are the first place I'm going to go. They have all the equipment already. Are we supposed to believe that Cochrane is not a billionaire, that he can build this space rocket? Like, what? Hey, Cochrane, I know why you're broke. I know why you need money so bad. Maybe don't spend all your expendable income on a rocket ship.
It was an investment.
Well, he's king of this indigent colony, like Leta pointed out, and
Yeah,
yet
with
he
this
has
little
the
trash
money
crown.
to build a warp-capable space rocket. I don't know.
At least it
Also,
didn't look
very-
like Bezos rocket. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. See, we've learned a lot, I guess, between then and now. This is a serious question that I do want an answer to. Did Data and the Borg Queen bone or not?
Gross.
Well, you'll have to check
Did
out
they?
my fanfic.
No,
Not
God,
enough.
what? You think?
0.68 seconds.
Oh, that could have been part of
no.
Data's shtick, though.
Part of his what?
Let's don't say part of Data's shtick right after that, please.
Oh.
What else did they graft skin on?
What else am I supposed to call it, Jordan? No, I just, that's the last scene we see before Picard kind of breaks in there, which, by the way, did they even care where Data was this whole time? I didn't hear anybody mention him until the very, very, very end when Picard decides not to save himself. And we come back and Data's resting. He's asleep. So what happened?
Sleep
is my
Data.
question. Also, Data boned before?
Gross,
Tasha
gross,
Yar.
gross.
Tasha Yar.
Wait, she's the one that got killed by the
It
trash
had been
bags?
8 years.
They-
so many days.
I think it was The Naked Now.
Yeah, second episode.
Yeah. It's called The Naked Now, and Tasha Yar had like the Superman curly Q hair.
And Data couldn't resist.
Yeah, and then they made Whoopi in a closet.
Goldberg?
Yes, they made Whoopi. They made
Oh,
Guinan.
so that's how
Goldberg.
Guinan came about.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
They made
I'm tracking.
Guinan in
the
a
9 months
closet.
later, Guinan.
I'm tracking.
Got guy.
And Data was like, oh my God, is she mine?
Yeah, her Whoopi got Goldberg.
Okay,
and
I guess
Guinan came
I
out.
need to go back and
So, Jocelyn, I didn't think about that, and now I'm grossed out, so thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Something new every
We'll
day.
continue. I'm getting towards the end. Why build a tube of flesh-eating gas directly into the center of your new Borg apartment? Why do that?
I think it has
What
other
could
functions.
that possibly be for? Why? Just maybe put it behind a wall, or maybe install some glass that isn't like paper thin. I don't know.
Data's
It's
super
weird.
strong. It's
Yeah.
only paper thin to an android.
It's a security
This is true.
system.
But considering the Borg are about equal strength as an android, maybe don't build that into your Borg industrial complex, because I don't know. Maybe the Borg get mad at the boss occasionally, and they don't seem that well coordinated. I would hate to see them on a baseball team. So, like, someone's going to knock into that, and now you're all dead.
Well, to be fair, there's a warning sign. There's like a warning, like triangle,
there,
like label
In
on
Braille?
it that
Yeah.
says "Don't hit it."
Warning.
So
So it's like the
Flesh-eating
equivalent to having like
energy device.
an ADT sign just stuck in your front yard, even though you don't have ADT.
yeah,
All right. Gotcha.
Ah, yes. Okay, well, that's a thing. And then lastly, back to Data boning, actually. Has his obsessive pursuit of, like, quote, humanity actually been a euphemism this whole time? Like, when he was saying he wanted to be more human, is that what he was meaning?
Well, I mean, he already had sex, so I don't understand why he would.
I know, he got a taste
clearly
of
he
it.
doesn't need to be more human to have sex. So why would that
It's already
fuel
fully functional.
that journey?
I don't know. He seemed to recall the exact timeline really quickly. I know he's an android, but I'm just saying, seems like he liked it, and it seems like he was like, it would be even better if I could feel anything during this. Physically, emotionally.
I've never been more uncomfortable.
Well, I
in my
guess
life.
we
I
guess
think
we're
that's
lucky that the Borg Queen just blew on his arm.
Oh,
I know.
at least on screen.
Yeah,
they're actually waiting till marriage, guys. They're waiting till marriage.
Just saying. I'm just going to leave that question out there. And those are my cons.
All right, thank you, Jocelyn. We'll accept a couple of those and put them in, lock them down. All right, Jordan. Any remaining con?
I
She
think I
said
just
con?
have one
Yeah.
or two cons, but I forgot my two neutral zones, which I do have a bit of a hard time believing that Worf would abandon the Enterprise and his captain in an escape pod, especially since they've traveled back to 2063. Like, that seems like a warrior's death to go out fighting with your captain on the ship, trying to get Data back, as opposed to floating in space listening to Klingon opera. But, he's done that before.
Yeah,
so.
Worf abandoned 2 ships in this movie.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, after saying today is a good day to die, he really wusses out pretty quickly. I did feel that the Cochrane portion of this film is definitely a little weaker, and I would have liked to have seen more of the current day and the post-World War III world that they're living in, because you see some shacks in Montana, which when I picture Montana, present day, that's what I imagine. So I don't know, that's much different. No offense. And my brother-in-law actually does live in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh,
So
wow.
if he lives long
Is that
enough,
from
maybe he'll
Cochrane?
see the Vulcans. Aside from that, the only big con that I have, I guess Jocelyn touched on that too, is like he's building a freaking ship that can break the warp barrier, but he doesn't seem like he can hardly work a jukebox. So I don't understand this guy. I don't know where he's getting these parts from. He's like, oh yeah, it was just an old nuclear weapon. Oh yeah, those aren't valuable. Can anyone explain to me why Picard would tell his crew to fire on their own if they're assimilated? He also murders one of his own crew members in cold blood right there and doesn't even bat an eye. And I know for a fact that he did not forget that he was once a member of the Borg, because he tells us several times in this film. And guess what? His crew rescued him. Like, he is there today because someone did not shoot him with a phaser when he was assimilated. That is almost unforgivable. I wish they would have somehow had a caveat to not having the medical infrastructure to heal these people, because they're in the year 2063 and, you know, all of humanity is counting on them, so they can't take any chance. That would have helped a little bit, or they could have done something. I don't know. It's just really weird that Picard's going around shooting his own crew members, and not only shooting them, being like, hey, if you see anyone and maybe they got touched by a Borg, just go ahead and shoot them. Put them out of their misery. Trust me. What? Anyways, Jeremy, any rebuttals, any cons, anything you want to say?
I'll throw a couple out there just to be trendy, but there are no cons in this film. I do love the Worf part, and I love tying the Borg's arm around his leg, but I have to fight you on this, Jordan. I hate assimilate this. I think that's the dumbest line in the movie.
Aww.
It's the way he said
Classic
it.
Worf.
Assimilate this.
Yeah. It's just a bad line. There could have been a cooler line, like cram it with walnuts or something. But I'm no writer. But assimilate this seems a bit cheesy. Ooby Dooby.
Ooba dooby.
Yeah, not a great choice.
There are plenty of cool Roy Orbison songs out there. This ain't one of them. So
You got the oobies and the doobies.
no. If the Borg can time...
Wait, was Roy Orbison a pothead? Doobie.
No, not Roy. Not Roy that wore the same sunglasses as Geordi.
No rock and roll figure has ever done drugs before, Jordan.
Yeah, Geordi.
No, Roy Orbison.
Oopsie doopsie.
And I couldn't see that coming.
Oh.
Did you say oopsie doopsie?
Also, if the Borg can time travel, why not do that first in their own space and then head to Earth? Blah, blah. Shut up. Who cares? That's fine. Oh, and the remaining, let's see. The Borg are...
And while you're there, fun fact, Roy Orbison was not blind.
Shut up.
Look it up. He's not blind.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah. You just can't see because he's dead,
Yeah,
Justin.
he's not blind. He's dead.
Oh,
The big difference.
No, but he was
my
not
bad.
blind.
The Borg are
But his
scarier.
nickname was the Big O.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, indeed.
Looking up his big O face. Let's take a look here.
No, don't
Doobie
Google
doobie.
image search that, Jeremy.
Well, no, I wish I was blind.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
The Borg are scarier, single-minded drones. Blah, yeah, shut up. The Borg Queen's awesome.
Sorry, Dad.
In this film and this film alone. This version of Cochrane is a slap in the face to canon and the actual Zephram Cochrane we met in the original series. So thanks for ruining my childhood, Alex Kurtzman. And, of course, this is the beginning of fun Trek crossovers featuring all of our favorite characters from every series like Next Gen and Voyager, and then more Voyager. So it'd be great to ever see a Deep Space Nine character again. It's been 30 years. That's what we thought about this movie.
I'm not bitter at all.
Let's go ahead and jump into fan comments and see what you guys had to say.
Picking up communication, sir.
Senior Council Member Wayne Fraser says, "This is a really good movie. Great even, and easily the best next-gen movie by a wide margin. But I think they undermine perhaps their best enemy with the introduction of the Borg Queen. Alice Krige is amazing in the role and makes her a truly compelling character, but I think the Borg were more menacing without a figurehead. And Chris Rowell says, about as perfect a Star Trek story, plot, cast, and score as you can get. 10s all around for me. And I included this from Senior Council member Alex Searcy because I think he put the issues I had with people complaining about Picard better than I did. Alex says, I'm going to address something over the years I find to be one of the major critiques of this movie and try to debunk it. People tend to criticize Picard's response to the Borg, specifically how out of his character his anger is in the last third of this film, and I very adamantly deny this. Sure, it's strange to see Picard be angry, let alone on that level, but the Borg took everything from him. Reference the episode Family. He's never experienced an assault and wounds like this, and it goes to further show that even a man as noble and high-statured as Picard can experience this and not recover from it. I think it's legitimate and a well-done character building for him. 10 astronauts on some kind of Star Trek out of 10. All right, speaking of this, let's go ahead and review this film. Leta, let's start with you. What do you give it?
I gave this episode 10 first ray guns.
Oh,
episode
yes.
show.
We are off to a great start. 10! All right, very good.
Easy, Jeremy. I think you got him.
All right. Connor, what do you give First Contact?
I give First Contact a 10.
Oh.
A 10. Assimilate this punchline. Oh.
Very good. We are on a roll.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what do you give First Contact?
I give this 9 torso cranes.
Isn't that...
Everybody needs what I'm selling. A torso crane.
I'm just saying, if I had that in the morning and could just separate myself, it would make getting ready for the day a lot easier.
I love that Kelsey Grammer character.
Torso crane?
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm listening.
Telling into my pants each morning with the torso crane.
Niles!
Joselyn, what do you give First Contact?
I gave it an 8, which is only
Ooh.
twice as much. Oh, what?
I knew
What,
one
you
of you would
don't-
betray me.
That's all I can do.
Controversial rating?
Mm-hmm.
It is the 8th Star Trek film. If you're rating on a scale of 8, that's perfect.
Yes.
Look, I took a point off for Deanna Troy's hair
Oh my gosh.
and another point off for Deanna Troy's hair. There were 4 hairstylists
What you're saying makes no
for this
sense.
movie, and that still was a decision that they made. So it gets an 8.
All right.
I feel strongly about this. No notes.
Okay. 9 from Jocelyn. Jordan.
I think she said 10.
My mistake.
You misheard.
I will give this film what it deserves, a 10 boyhood fantasies.
Yes.
Tight, yeah.
Very good.
Is that for the data set? Never mind.
No. I will also, just to counter Jocelyn, I will give this a 12. I'll give this a 10. 10, setting the bar for Trek films. Yeah, this far, no further. All right.
That little sweetness.
That's that's a tagging in song of one of our local commercials. Is that O'Reilly Auto Parts?
Yeah. Borg Auto Parts.
Oh.
Okay. All right. And Star Trek Wars Council give this a higher score than any other movie they have reviewed to this point.
Whoa.
A 9.45.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
What?
I guess we know who was wrong.
Yeah, and it wasn't Troy's hair.
How does that bag of silver feel now, Judas?
Jordan, perchance you have any fun facts?
I have about 3 pages, and I will say on the Blu-ray, which I was actually able to find, Jonathan Frakes has his own commentary track, so it's actually just Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah,
so
listen to that.
It's kind of cool. I didn't hear the whole thing because I watched the film and then watched part of that, and it was almost 2 a.m, so I did not finish. But I guess it's Alice Kriega, so we've been saying it wrong for
I don't like
as long
that.
as we've been covering stuff. I don't like it. I'll call her whatever I want. But it's really funny because he's very self-deprecating. He's like watching it. And he's like, oh, yes, the reflection mirror shot. He's like, no director has ever done that before. So it was just really funny hearing him critique his own work and just have fun with it. But this film had a budget of $45 million, which is crazy by today's standard. A movie like this would probably cost $250, but I guess that's just inflation for you. This film was produced simultaneously with the 5th season of Star Trek Deep Space Nine and the 3rd season of Voyager. It actually came out 2 days after the 3rd season episode of Voyager called Warlord, which is where Kes dresses in black and decides that she's bad. And not a great one, but a great setup for this film. Due to budgetary restrictions of Star Trek The Next Generation, it was never quite satisfied with the Borg sets and costumes. I guess they didn't like the guys walking around in black shirts and hockey helmets as used during the series. However, the significantly bigger budget for this film finally allowed them to design the Borg in a way that was much closer to what they had intended. As a result, the suits and sets were used extensively on Star Trek Voyager. That is another borderline neutral zone, is that this film spawned 26 episodes of Voyager Borg episodes. But Whoopi Goldberg, speaking of Whoopi, was not asked to return as Guinan, a character with a long-standing enmity with the Borg as shown in previous Trek projects. She only learned about the decision through a newspaper. She said, "What can I say? I wanted to do it because I don't think you could do anything about the Borg without my character, but apparently you can. So they don't need me." Which, I felt that she could have been good, but they needed like that outsider perspective that Lily offered. I guess you could have both characters in there, but I could see Guinan going into Picard's
she's the only other one that could
yelling
do that.
at him and giving that would have made a little more sense than Lily, who just met him. But I don't know, it would have been cool to see her in this film. Although his name is never given in this film, according to Star Trek canon, the Vulcan who salutes Seth from Cochrane is named Solkar. As mentioned in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, Solkar is the father of Sarek and subsequently the grandfather of Spock and Michael Burnham. The USS Defiant, introduced on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, was built for the sole purpose of fighting and defeating the Borg. This film features the only time the ship fights the Borg. So, money well spent. Government spending, everyone.
And it didn't do that great.
No, it did not. The Borg Queen was created because the writers were having difficulty in writing dialogue for what was intended to be the Borg's central computer. So that scene with Data got real awkward when the computer blew some AC on Data's arm and asked if it was good.
It's just like talking to a server, like, I'm fully functional.
Do you find my gigabyte limit alarming, Data?
When the Vulcans land on Earth and make first contact, Cochrane, is that why it's called first contact? No, never mind. Cochrane is unable to return the Vulcan salute. This is a reference to an old joke about Star Trek, the original series. Many fans and quite a few actors throughout the Star Trek franchise cannot separate their fingers the right way. Most notably, actor who cannot do it is William Shatner. Mike Johannes can do the salute, but only, I don't even know who that is, only with his left hand, and he's right-handed, so that's really fun. I don't know why I put that in there. Early drafts of the script called for the USS Defiant to be destroyed in the battle with the Borg, but screenwriter, thank goodness, Ronald D. Moore, objected to the needless destruction of the ship. From a Deep Space Nine in 1983, a story that did not even involve Deep Space Nine characters apart from Lieutenant Worf. This would also prove to be improper for a television series, so the Defiant was eventually allowed to survive this battle and would needlessly be destroyed in another episode and brought back 2 episodes later. So, thank goodness. Michael Dorn, Brent Spiner, Gates McFadden, and Jonathan Frakes have all quoted as saying that this was their favorite of all the Star Trek films that they made. Marina Sirtis mentioned that she had more fun filming Generations, but conceded that this film was the best one they made. And this one kind of ticked me off. Avery Brooks had a cameo as Captain Benjamin Sisko, ordering Lieutenant Commander Worf to command the USS Defiant, but this was filmed but deleted.
Why? Why?
I do not know.
That sucks.
Pay the man.
Oh my god, that would have been so cool.
DS9 is the Rodney
hurt.
Dangerfield of Star Trek shows because it doesn't get any respect.
Well, we can't have Avery Brooks and Ethan Phillips in this movie. We got to cut one.
Oh, God. At the end of filming, actor and director Jonathan Frakes got the nickname Two Take Frakes because of his efficiency of his style. Robert Picardo does not just reprise his character from Star Trek Voyager, but there is a very subtle reference to the joke that made him earn the Doctor role. During his Voyager audition, he was asked to say, "Somebody forgot to turn off the program." He did that and then added, "I'm a doctor, not a light bulb," and he got the role. In this film, he says, "I'm a doctor, not a doorstop." The eyepiece of the Borg flashed the Morse code of the names of the people associated with the production, which I thought was kind of a cool little touch. One of the reasons Jonathan Frakes was chosen to direct was because producers wanted someone who understood Star Trek amongst the cast, and he was the series' most prolific director. Reportedly, Ridley Scott and John McTiernan turned down the chance to direct. I guess Ridley Scott was busy making another terrible Alien prequel. Actually, he was probably doing Alien Resurrection, which is a terrible non-prequel, but... The writers of Star Trek Enterprise planned to address the backstory of the Borg Queen in its 5th season. However, the series was canceled before this could be realized, which is probably a good thing because I don't think that needs. Maybe that's a novel, but I don't know. I could see them screwing that up.
Yeah. And with
Joy tells Ephraim
thank God it
Cochrane-
was canceled, or else we'd have to hear that theme song more.
There's a skip
Very
option now.
True.
It's great.
Skip series.
There is actually a meme
Yeah, I do
that I
that.
meant to post. I think that Ronald Wilson posted it, where the scene where Ephraim Cochrane's freaking out because he's like, we can't start, and he finds the disc. Instead of Steppenwolf, it is the Enterprise theme song.
Oh, God.
Jory tells Ephraim Cochrane that by the 24th century, the Phoenix Missile Complex will become a museum and will feature a 20-meter tall statue of Cochrane with his arm reaching towards the sky, towards the future. Although the statue is never shown throughout this film, a smaller scale model of the statue can be seen frequently on a shelf in Captain Archer's quarters on Star Trek Enterprise. The character Ephraim Cochrane was first seen in the original series episode Metamorphosis, played by Glenn Corbett. There are differences between the original Cochrane and this character, probably because they're two different people. Most notably, they are both noted spaceflight pioneers. This Ephraim Cochrane's role was written for James Cromwell. Tom Hanks was also considered for the role, but was unavailable as he was filming and I believe directing That Thing You Do. Glenn Corbett could not reprise his role as he died from lung cancer in 1993. And then lastly, a scene filmed that did not make the final cut featured Deanna Troi attempting to get her hair fixed, to communicate with the abrasive Ephraim Cochrane. Frustrated with his attitude, she pushes him off an embankment, fully aware that he will land on a force field, which breaks his fall.
Oh.
And that's all the fun facts.
Very good. Thank you, Jordan. All right, let's get into our deleted scenes.
I don't have one.
Oh, okay. Moving right along. Connor, do you have a deleted scene?
I do indeed. I happen to be an agent of sorts for an up and coming these two up and coming actors, top of their field. I think they'll go far. And this is an audition tape they did where they basically played Gollum / Smeagol and did that dialogue scene from Lord of the Rings. So let me put the tape in. We wants it. We needs it. Must have the precious. There's a lot of S's in the script, folks. They stole it from us. Sneaky little hobbitses. Wicked. Tricksy false. No, not master. Yes, precious. False. They will cheat you, hurt you, lie. Okay. Master's my friend. You don't have any friends. Okay, nobody likes you. Go away. Go away. I hate you. I hate you. Where would you be without me? Okay, Gollum, I saved us. It was me. We survived because of me, because I was such a great president. Not anymore. What did you say? Master looks after us now. We don't need you. What? Leave now and never come yucking back. No. Oh, I need to say that more emotion. No. Leave now and never come back. Oh, leave now and never come back. We told him to go away, and away he goes, precious. Gone, gone, gone. Smeagol's yucking free. Gorge. Yuck.
Wow.
Yeah. Very, very, top of the line.
It's a nice impression of Goofy and that Disney character. Which makes sense because he would have been hot off the back of doing Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. So he's got that acting bug.
He does.
All right. Thank you, Connor.
Of course.
Leta, do you have a next time on?
Yeah, I've got a little deleted scene at the end where Beverly is in an emergency counseling session with Deanna, just absolutely raging about that intimate kiss Jean-Luc gave Lily right in front of her. The disrespect. And also just a little thing I want to add. Can someone please recreate Zephyr's spaceship bar so I can go and drink there, please? Like, bad tequila, loud music, and terrible service guaranteed. That's all I need.
Dogs just freely walking around.
To be in the middle of the woods. Yep. That's it.
That does sound pretty great, actually. Very good. Thank you, Leta. Joselyn.
Usually this is like a funny moment that I do, like a little, fun with sound bites. But this time I just wanted to kind of be really serious because we know that there's a lot of misinformation around vaccines out there. And so I just wanted to talk about theta radiation.
Sure.
Get your theta radiation vaccines, people. The vaccine is safe. It's painless. It'll go right through your clothes. You don't even have to show your arms, which we know have gained a bit of weight. And you're really sensitive about them, and I get that. I'm there with you, okay? I just want to say, theta radiation kills so many people, and you can be young and healthy and still die of theta radiation. So, your body's immune system, it needs this help. I know the Lord gave you all that immunity, but also theta radiation. So get the vaccine. It's safe. Get it today. It's available at the CVS, Walgreens, or wherever you get your vaccinations. Code word is COVID. But just get that theta radiation vaccine, okay? Don't die. Don't die today. Okay, so let's go together on First Contact Day. That bar in Montana. Thank you.
Can I counter that?
No.
Let me just say, vaccines are poison, and radiation is made up by the Dominion to control us. I will not live in fear. Thank you. God bless America.
It's too close.
Triggered.
Very good. Thank you for that, Jocelyn. Great information. Jordan.
Yeah, what's up, Jeremy?
Do you have a deleted scene or next time on? I can't see you through the smoke.
I suppose so. Oh, smoke. Well, that might be some foreshadowing. I wish that Big Daddy Zeph would have pulled out his shotgun and blasted those Vulcan bastards back to where they came from.
Hell yeah.
They should take their advanced technology and use it to advance the Terran Empire where we belong. Long live the Terran Empire. And that's right. I'm part of the Terran Empire Section 31. I bet you didn't see that coming. I've been stealing all of your podcasting tricks and sharing them with all the other more important podcasts, and that's why I could finally reveal myself, because I don't want to watch Insurrection.
Jordan, you're blind now too?
Yes, I'm wearing sunglasses. I must be blind.
This is how I find out.
Just call me the Big O. That's my operative name.
No.
Anyways, I have another one. God, it's hot. I didn't have a leather jacket, but I had a black coat, and it's warm.
The whole costume change, y'all.
Yes, and smoke. It's a visual coat.
When did you grow that
For a
goatee?
podcast. What's that?
When did you grow that goatee? Like after Fun Facts? That's amazing.
About 20 years ago.
Dedication.
I guess Mirror Me would be clean shaven, but whatever. So, I actually have a hollow novel or holodeck creation called Moby Dixon Hill. Dixon Hill must hunt down his arch nemesis, a mobster named Moby, also known as the White Whale, intent on taking over his town and killing Dixon's family. And the White Whale is played by Kirstie Alley.
Oh, no!
Wow.
No! Why are we still doing this?
I don't know what this we nonsense
Why?
is. It's Mere Jordan.
Jordan.
Folks.
She's an actress. I just thought it would be a good role for her.
Jordan, be better.
I didn't know that we were doing a podcast with Al Bundy.
This is evil Mere Jordan, guys. We can't blame him.
That's right.
He does what he does.
I don't like this guy.
Can we put him in the agony booth of watching Insurrection?
That's my Star Trek podcast. It's called The Agony Booth. Just me talking about Star Trek.
Insurrection.
Yes, I only review Nemesis, Insurrection, Generations, and The Final Frontier.
Oh, my God. Oh, you poor bastard.
With a lot of Voyager. Only season 1 of all the Treks. That's it.
Oh, jeez. Yo. Ooh. When this movie came out, I was 18 years and 8 months old. Connor, right now you are 18 years and 9 months old. So almost the exact age I was when I saw this film. So,
ironic.
Yeah. So what was 18-year-old me doing? I was writing an outline for a different version of First Contact, naturally, as I'm sure you're doing right now.
Right. On my typewriter here.
As much as I loved the film, there was one element I wished we would have seen it, and now it kind of breaks my heart because it sounds like we almost did. That not only did Worf beam aboard the Enterprise from the Defiant, but also Benjamin Sisko. I had written a draft that had Sisko in it. I wanted to see my two favorite captains come together one more time and work out their differences against a common enemy that they both hate. Then I also wrote a DS9 script about a Borg cube in Dominion space, but what teenage Trekkie didn't back then? I really wanted to see Sisko and Picard, but it's still my favorite Trek movie, so it's fine. This is literally the first time I heard that there was possibly going to be a Sisko in that, Jordan, so now it hurts even more somehow, 25 years later. That wound will never fully heal. So how did
Can we get a Patreon special of a table read of this script?
Oh yeah, I still have it for sure. And it was
volunteer.
Great.
Did you ever finish it?
It was more of an outline. I finished the DS9 script about the Borg and the Dominion, but there's a lot of boom boom. I don't know how much like dialogue there was. I'm sure it was great.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm not a great writer now.
I'll table read as Sisko. I have my audition tape here ready.
All right, let's go ahead.
Worf gets shot in the battle. There's flames, pieces falling, interior defiant. We can't just leave him here.
Okay. That's good.
I have my
a little less Paul Bearer from The Undertaker WWF at the end, Jordan. But I like it.
Yeah.
Connor, I think we already got yours in this episode.
Oh, that's true. But there's a scene where they're trying to sneak past the Borg, and to do that, to just Sisko distracts him, so he starts singing and dancing. A ring, 1, 2, 3, a ring.
All right, yeah. All right, we'll be in touch. Thank you, guys.
Of course.
I might try and go for Avery Brooks first, but you're a good backup. Yeah, we'll read that for Patreon for sure. I'll find that. How did First Contact do this week? Well, using the combined average score of ourselves and you guys who've had it at home, Star Trek First Contact assimilates our hearts with a score of a 9.49. Dang. Does that put it number one? It does not. Staying at number one with a 9.91 is Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
Yes.
Replacing Wrath of Khan in second place is First Contact with a 9.49. Beating Wrath of Khan had a 9.47. First Contact overtaking Wrath of Khan. Oh, you heard it here, folks. Unbelievable. The Final Frontier, still dead last. But it'll have contention and some competition in the coming months.
Stiff competition.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that's where the final three movies will end, but we'll see. The first three movies, the final three movies, remains to be seen. Next month on Star Trek Wars, we will be reviewing the 9th Trek film, the third one from the Next Gen crew.
There is a world where time as we know it stands still, where every moment is a universe in itself. But what if the existence of this world and its secret to eternal youth was threatened? What if those entrusted to protect it?
In 6 hours, every living thing in this system will be dead or dying.
Are the ones who would destroy it?
Who the hell are we to determine the next course of evolution for this people?
I'm acting on orders from the Federation Council.
And the only hope for its survival.
If a court-martial is the only way to tell the Federation what is happening here, I welcome it, Admiral.
Is for one captain and his crew to commit an act of treason.
Lock and load. Send down an assault team and take them by force.
Let's move these people up!
The Federation ship has been disabled. Eliminate them.
Captain. Fire.
Star Trek. Insurrection.
That actually sounds pretty good.
I'm not going to lie. That kind of got me pumped.
Like a military movie.
If that movie was 2 minutes instead of 2 hours, I think it'd be pretty sweet.
That's right, it's Star Trek Insurrection, but you won't have to wait a month for new content because Season 2 of Lower Decks premieres in 1 week and will once again be covered by Chelsea and myself. The Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. If you haven't done so yet, please take a minute and leave an iTunes review. That simple gesture goes a tremendous long way in helping other like-minded Trekkies find us. Write a review and we will read it on air. You can also find us on Twitter at the Star Trek Wars. And if you want some fine Star Trek Wars merchandise, head over to redbubble.com or follow the link attached to this episode. My friends, always a pleasure to see you all. Connor, where can they find you?
Well, let me tell you. You can find me not watching Lower Decks because Kurtzman killed my dog with his bare hands, gouged its eyes out, and drank its blood right in front of me. And then he grabbed me by the throat, lifted me up to the very ceiling as he levitated and whispered in my ear, "I'm gonna ruin Star Trek."
What a monster.
So I can't watch it.
Okay, understood.
Until I do next week.
Okay, thank you, Connor.
Yep.
Leta, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Hi, you can find me next time we review a movie, and over here, excessively moisturizing, so I can look as good as the Borg Queen when I'm thousands of years old and looking for a hot, android boyfriend.
Hell yeah. Joselyn, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Just like bouncing off of what Leta was talking about, it does bring like a new meaning to the term boy toy because he's kind of animatronic,
Yeah.
Very
and
much.
he has different modes and settings, which is also
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'll be moisturizing.
Okay, very good. Chelsea, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
I'm on the council page.
Right on. Jordan, always a pleasure. Where can they find you, sir?
Well, they can find me on the Star Trek Wars Council Facebook page, and they can also find me starting an insurrection so I don't have to watch Star Trek Insurrection. Also, you'd find me pondering if the Cutest and the Borg Queen hooked up and maybe made their own little boy toy? Baby. That's the word. Anyways.
The cutest.
He was the cutest baby, yeah.
All right. As for me, well, you can find me this far and no further on Star Trek Wars.
You enjoyed that. You're damned right.
Did not mean to press that button, but it worked.
It worked. Was that good for you, the cutest? You're damn right.
Joselyn, you should listen to Coin Operated Boy by the Dresden Dolls after this.
Oh.
It's a fun song.
I
that,
will do that.
Basically sounds like what you just described.
It's about Data.
Sure.
Coin operated boy sitting on the shelf. He is just a toy, but I turn him on and he comes to life. Automatic joy. That is why I want a coin operated boy.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.